In 2024, we've seen mass layoffs from many major companies, but Intuit's recent decision has stood out for all the wrong reasons. When a CEO mishandles the laying off of 10% of their workforce, it becomes a lesson in poor leadership. In today's video, we'll delve into the details of the situation, explore the downstream consequences to those impacted by the layoffs, as well as dissect the CEO's actions and explore how leadership can and should be better. Stay tuned to learn not only what went wrong at Intuit, but also how effective leadership can turn such crises into opportunities for growth and respect. Before we get into it, I'm Seth. This is Acquired Salary, the best living through career mastery. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I would greatly appreciate if you drop a like on the video, because it is support like this that helps to grow Acquired Salary's reach, continuing to allow us to provide you with free information, tools, and perspectives you need to build the life and career you want. With that, let's read the article, and then I'll dive into the points that I want to discuss so we can learn from the CEO's action. Intuit to lay off 1,800 employees, labels 1,050 of them as underperformers. On Wednesday, the company, which has invested heavily in Gen AI tools in recent years, shared a note explaining the cuts. We do not lay off to cut costs, and that remains true in this case. A spokesperson for Intuit told Fast Company that the brand will continue to invest in ongoing training and development programs, but the shift is about reinvesting the necessary strategic functional capabilities and skill sets to support Intuit's transformation. About 1,050 employees who are not meeting expectations are departing the company. CEO Sassan Gadarzi said the company has significantly raised the bar on our expectations of our employees' performance, and that underperforming employees will be more successful outside of Intuit. When asked, the company declined to comment on when those expectations were raised and how long employees were given to improve performance based on layoffs. Still, it seems putting capital towards other areas of the company is a crucial part of the next move. The company drove home how it will expand the Gen AI efforts, which it has been an early adopter of, and accelerate its international growth. 300 roles will be eliminated entirely in an effort to streamline work. Eliminating a large chunk of underperforming employees seems like a pivot to allow the company a reset. The CEO shared that the company plans to hire 1,800 individuals to work in marketing, engineering, and customer-facing roles, and in doing so, the company is expected to grow. In context of the actions we are taking today, we expect our overall headcount to grow in FY25 and beyond. The note said, explaining the company expects to close sites in Edmonton, Canada, and Boise, Idaho. Okay, so the biggest issue that I see is Intuit lays off 1,800 employees and labels 1,050 of them as underperformers. It doesn't matter if he clarifies 1,050 have been underperformers. Based on the current job market, the status quo maintained by talent acquisition specialists, recruiters, and hiring managers, the people that have been laid off are labeled as a riskier hire. So this, in combination with the CEO's claim that a significant portion of those being fired are underperformers, essentially labels anyone who's a part of this layoff as an underperformer. This is because hiring teams don't want to spend the time and resources to determine if a candidate was an underperformer or not, especially given the current economy, because, and this is even worse for interest rate sensitive businesses because of the high interest rates by the Federal Reserve. I personally have had numerous discussions with hiring managers at Fortune 500 companies, and the consensus is that companies are expecting hiring managers to do more with less. This results in hiring managers only wanting to hire the sure thing because they don't want to hire somebody that has some risks associated with them and it end up being a bad hire, because that could potentially put them on the chopping block themselves. So the sure thing inherently means the criteria or the standards with which one must meet to get hired is being raised. With the bar being raised, the bias against unemployed people or people that have been laid off only gets worse. This confirms the conclusion that hiring teams will not devote the limited time and resources to determining if someone is an underperformer, because there's likely alternative people that are not unemployed or have not been laid off. So it's just the quick action because oftentimes when companies are hiring or people are looking to hire, it's because they're overwhelmed, so they're already limited on time. Why expend extra time and effort when you can go with a more sure thing? So essentially, the negative consequences of the CEO's statements are blacklisting these employees. It wouldn't be as bad if we were in a prosperous economy, but we are in a white collar jobs recession right now, and this essentially has created a blacklist for 1,800 employees, which does open up the potential for defamation lawsuit, because you can say I wasn't an underperformer, but I'm being thrown into the bucket of underperformers just because I was in the same layoff as the underperformers. But the likelihood that this is going to go to court and actually work in favor of those who are laid off is extremely low, in my opinion. So those are the immediate consequences of those who are impacted by the layoff. But as we dig into it a little deeper, often companies that are undergoing mass layoffs are not performing as well as they were projecting, or they're experiencing massive amounts of corporate greed. As I've covered many times, there are a lot of perverse incentives for CEOs to conduct layoffs because it increases the stock price and therefore their bonus. So is this the case for Intuit? Well, for those who are familiar, the CEO this year made the decision to close Mint. Mint was a personal finance app where you could essentially track your net worth. Personally, you can see in this article, how to pick a new budget service, and the decision has probably pushed some customers away from Intuit. However, Credit Karma and Mint had some overlap in features and capabilities, so the merits of the business decision is, you're streamlining operations and improving profit margin because you have a improved operational efficiency. So theoretically, this would increase profit margins and make the company perform better. Knowing this, I would say this decision is starting to look like it's a case of corporate greed. Well, to truly determine if this is a case of corporate greed, we can kind of take a look at the stock price. So based off the stock price, the all-time high is 692, and this was back in 2021. And the stock price just before the layoff was around $573. And immediately after, there was a nice little jump. So this obviously indicates that the CEO is going to get a nice little bonus because he performed these layoffs. However, overall, the $573 stock price is just in between the 473 and the 476. To me, I'm not going to go into in-depth technical analysis on how well the stock is doing and how well the company is doing, but essentially the market is saying that they were average in their performance. And so it's, again, indicating that this is likely a decision made out of corporate greed. And as we dig back into the article, this is the epitome of a failed leadership, because the CEO stated that these employees weren't meeting expectations, but he didn't comment on how long they were allowed to improve their performance after changing the expectations. Taking this back to the fundamentals of great leadership and leaders, great leaders are clear in their communication. They're predictable. They're encouraging. They display fairness without sugarcoating feedback, and they make our hard job fun. Well, reading between the lines of the CEO's actions and the fact that he declined to comment on how long employees were given the opportunity to improve their performance, it seems to me as though the CEO is displaying the opposite of a great leader in every aspect. The CEO did not clearly communicate his expectations. The CEO is being unpredictable and changing his expectations. It doesn't seem like he's very encouraging, because he's labeling these people as underperformers without any remorse. And, if you're encouraging, you would be saying, okay, well, we continue to invest in ongoing training and development programs. Well, if you're an encouraging leader, you're going to funnel your existing people into those training and development programs rather than fire them. Oh, also, like the fact that he's firing 1,800 employees to hire 1,800 employees back. Where was it? hiring 1,800 people back. Obviously, there was 300 roles that were just entirely eliminated. However, I think this is a case of corporate greed where he's looking at the economy and how there's a white-collar jobs recession. Like, oh, we can fire these people and perhaps hire the same people or similarly skilled people back for lower pay. It very much seems like he's doing this out of corporate greed. And the final thing on his leadership, if you still work at Intuit, he just made a hard job even harder, because the fact of the matter is you probably don't have 10% of your workforce just doing nothing. So those tasks are no longer being completed, and the expectation is probably to have those still be completed, which means if you're still at the company, you already had a hard job, and now it's even harder because you have to do more. I don't know. Based off of all this, I think the headline of the article should read something like, Failed Intuit CEO Rejects Accountability, Blames Employees for Underperforming to Justify His Corporate Greed. I say this because the buck stops with you as the leader. You're the leader. You set the standards for your leaders and your managers. And the Intuit CEO demonstrates a significant lack in exceptional leadership capabilities, as I just covered, and a complete lack of accountability. Following in the steps of Jocko Willink in his book on leadership, taking extreme ownership would mean he would just come out and say, I did this to line my pockets. Firing 1,800 employees to immediately hire 1,800 back is, he's hoping to, hire people back at a cheaper rate, because if you dig into the statistics on hiring mid-level employees, it costs like the entire annual salary of mid-level employee to replace them, at least, if not 150, 200% of the annual salary to recruit and such. So if you are trying to hire all these people back, you're really hoping that you can hire them back for cheaper and have that long-term outlook and improvement. I don't know. What do you think? Please share your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. If you made it this far into the video, you may as well like the episode and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on future videos to help you master your career. And while you're at it, you may as well check out my video on why nobody wants to work anymore. Further, if you want to improve your leadership skills and abilities, consider joining the Acquired Salary community using the first link in the description below. It is there that we can schedule a consultation to go over how to apply the fundamentals of leadership to your specific situation. And who knows, maybe you'll be able to get a raise or a promotion out of it. Until next time, thank you.